You may bow with me. Excuse me. The Father, we gather here in these chambers again to tend this business of this great county in which we live. We thank you for this beautiful day that we've been blessed with. We thank you for each and every one that's come out today to be a part of this process as we tend the business of this county. That Father, as our fiscal year ends and we're working on the new budget, we thank you for all that has went into this process. We thank you for the revenues that have come forward so that we can better serve the people of this county in which we represent. That, Father, we help us not to take this responsibility lightly, but to lead with transparency and honesty and to do those things that are a benefit to all the people all the people we represent in this county. That, Father, tonight we want to lift up the Hudson family from Plum Branch at the loss of a loved one there that has been a part of our communities for many, many years. Be with them as they grieve the loss of this loved one. That, Father, we particularly want to thank you for all that serve publicly. We take them for granted so often, particularly this time of year when so many things are happening. People are moving, our MS services, our police services, and those that are for our military services. If we always want to remember them. Tonight particularly is a special night. I want to speak a blessing over Miss Charlotte Townsend, who has been a part of our county for many, many years, has served us and has done such a great job. We want to pray for what the future holds for her. I know it'll be bright. Dear Father, these things we continue to pray in the precious name of Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have our roll call coming from our clerk to the council. Ms. Bond.
Charles Jennings.
Present.
Bernard Hamby.
Present.
Henry Banks.
Present.
Cook.
Present.
Jackie Brown.
Present.
G.P. Callison.
Present.
Columbus Stevens.
Present.
Thank you, and we do have a quorum. This time we have approval of the minutes. These minutes are May the 21st, 2024.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
With motion and second, any discussion? Now, all in favor? Nobody right hand. Thank you. At this time, we ask Mr. Lanston from Clear Water Solutions.
Good evening, council members. Thankful to be here with you, and looking forward to the presentation here. Just want to say to each one of you, thank you for the opportunity to serve your citizens, and we're really excited about the positive direction that we see with the county here, and we feel excited about the team we have here that serves this county. And I just want to kind of highlight some of the work that has been done by this team, and continue to support you all moving forward. So, so we began a partnership, as you all know, back in October of 2022, and no secrets here. We're looking to establish a longer-term partnership. We believe we've taken tremendous steps forward and look forward to continuing that. We do not claim to be perfect, and water systems are, each have their own intricacies that we have to troubleshoot and problem solve on, but we do feel confident about the direction we're moving forward, and we hope to be able to serve you in that way. So I'd like to just speak on some of the successes here, and one of the biggest ones is obviously compliance. SCD, you were under a consent order for total trihalomethanes, or THMs, and that has since been resolved, and so excited about that, as well as some savings that were held on the R&M account during the first year. telemetry upgrades to the collection system. So that gives visual graphs, and I've got some illustrations here on the next slide that just shows the data. So it helps our operators respond to sanitary sewer overflows that may be caused by a storm. And we also have telemetry on water tanks, which helps see different distribution problems that happen on the drinking water system. So those are some improvements that have been made since we've been here. Went through a sanitary survey result or inspection by DHEC. I was personally here for that. One of the best sanitary surveys I've seen. And looking forward to continuing that relationship with DHEC and making sure we're addressing any issue that they may have with compliance. So in addition, their asset management, we have worked with personnel here to be able to try to help find the county the right asset management system that couples with a customer service system. So those things are kind of still in the works, but we've been involved with that. This is just one of the graphs on one of the water levels in Troy water tank. We see this in a live view. It's on a computer in the office, and we're able to drill into the details. It gives much greater visual information to us as we make decisions on where we should work for the day. What problems do we need to respond to? These systems have alarms and different alerts on them that help us to just serve the citizens and respond to any environmental issues that might be out there as well. This is another visual that we see that water level moves up and down throughout the day based upon demand and supply. So these are live graphics that are held on the tanks and just provides great information there. So. In addition, some other successes we have here. So recently we have replaced some major master meters to realign some flows and billing data to make sure that the revenues match up with the consumption out on the system. So there was a prison meter that was replaced recently that has a great deal to do with that. And there's another meter in the works. So several of those have been done, and we're continuing to make sure they get done. We did meet with McCormick, CPW, Cheryl Daniels there, and her staff to just keep communication clear on distribution of water and anything that we can do to help them. I actually just spoke with Ms. Daniels a few minutes ago on some operational problems they were having, and we're just trying to help troubleshoot and be a voice there to help them know that we're here to help. There's a 5-year sludge testing program that has been brought back online, and backflow cross-connection control program in effect. Those records look good. DHEC saw that in their sanitary survey. And then a couple other items here. O&M manuals have been updated, and we have assisted the county's engineering firm Thomas & Hutton on the water model calibration, which has very big implications for how the distribution system operates in the future. So lots of good stuff there. But one thing I really want to highlight here, and this has very little to do with me, but a lot to do with the crews that are out there day in and day out, in the holes, in the ditches, fixing leaks, whether it's February or a hot day like today, taking care of a variety of issues. Everyone has seen these work orders come through, but when we came here in October 2022, we had a backlog of 219 work orders. And from October 2022 to January 2023, 744 work orders were completed, and we had 0 in backlog. And so from January 2023 to date, we've accomplished 4,784 work orders. That's a monumental task, and I try to tell our leaders here, we're not the hare, we want to be the tortoise. We have small steps that we want to take every day to reach the goals. But this is showing a great volume of work that's been done and the dedication of the employees. So I applaud those who are working out in the field here. I like to work out in the field when I can. I don't always get the opportunity, and I know how difficult it can be. So I just want to cheerlead them there. So just quickly here, I want to talk about some of our other peripheral things that we do with CWS. We have dedicated a team of individuals to work toward achieving the master plan goals for the county. So, we've hired new personnel. We've established excellence as a standard of work. We want to make sure that all of our employees understand that we all have a standard of work that we have to live up to, and each one of us has a responsibility to be kind and courteous, to make sure that we're aware of compliance issues, and to just have a culture of continuous improvement. We want to continue to improve in all that we do. And then we want to keep our work culture high. We want to have good team morale, and that's been something that has been improved over time, and we're thankful for that. We've got weekly training classes that are held and attended on Fridays, and we have helped many of the distribution personnel receive their trainee license on the distribution system, and they're in a place to be able to take an exam to be licensed as a distribution operator, which is not an easy task. It has less than a 20% pass rate. It's a closed book exam, and there are 4 levels of that exam. So it's a highly technical exam that has to be taken, but we've got staff that have that certification. I have that certification, others. And so we are pushing and providing everything that we need to get those employees certified. We also have a bench strength. So if there's a problem that is difficult, that there might be additional personnel that is needed, additional equipment, we will bring in people from other service areas and people in the state, outside of the state, to be able to have the right personnel to take care of the job. So just a couple weeks ago, I was here. We brought a couple other folks in. We did a calibration for the water model. We had to run some fire hydrant flows and give that data to the engineering firm. We've had Chris Thomas, who is a training guru who's got good relationships here, as well as our CMS crew who did a manhole inspection survey for us on over 80 manholes here just recently, sewer line cleanups, and then some other distribution personnel from in the upstate. So just want to highlight the bench strength that we have, that we can pull people from other service areas to be able to help the county out. And in addition, we have a safety program. So we give individual monthly trainings for each employee, and then we have monthly internal meetings to go over those safety trainings. And we've implemented a driver safety program that helps us to determine a driver safety score, and that's been a huge success. We've given some incentive to be able to help employees want to be safer, make sure you've got a good braking habits, speeding habits, wearing your seatbelt, all of those things. So that's been a great success, and the employees have really latched onto that. Also created a OSHA trenching and shoring, or completed trenching and shoring certification. So that's a training that is actually done and by OSHA, and that has been completed by the personnel here in McCormick County. And then we have a weekly meeting on all compliance activities. So we try to serve as the regulators before the regulators come. So if DHEC knocks on the door, we want to be well aware and educated in everything before they get here, know the root cause of the problem, and be able to talk on it in a competent fashion. So this is just looking forward, a few things that we have been working on and are continuing to work on as we look forward on all of our operational activities. So preventative maintenance on the sewer collection system. I mentioned the manhole inspections that we're completed recently. When DHEC did an inspection, they found that the county has not historically had that. We brought you back into compliance there. And we're working on preventative maintenance on 44 lift stations. Every week, those 44 lift stations are visited and are prioritized for future rehabilitation purposes that will be needed. And then there's a note here on working to remove county dispatch out of the loop on water and sewer calls, trying to make sure that those calls are coming to us where it matters, where it counts, that we can respond appropriately. And so that work is ongoing, but it has happened in a great fashion already. So another thing here, meter reading activities. So a radio read system, and I know this isn't the first time you've all heard this, but a radio read system would dramatically improve labor and billing efficiently. There's revenue that's not being captured because of low flow that old meters cannot capture. So new meters in the ground would, help you capture some of that revenue that is being lost right now. And we can help with procurement. We're often in conferences. We know these vendors. We've seen the procurement documents. We can help the county be able to get in a place where you can get new meters in the ground. They can be read in a more efficient manner, and we can help guide through that process. And then we've also got water quality monitoring throughout the year. We've accomplished some recently, and we've got kind of a library of data that's happened over the past year. Let me go back there, make sure I didn't miss anything. And then the GIS mapping, we've spoken about that as well. Just bringing the maps. Right now you're using paper maps. It's a very difficult thing to do when you're looking for a specific hydrant or the way the water flows. The water model is going to help dramatically and give some actual interaction with the map and be able to troubleshoot the system in a more educated fashion. And as far as, I've got some of our peripheral staff in here too, just again, talking about the bench strength. So, we've got everyone listed up there from our CEO to our COO, and I'm listed up there as the state director, and Barry Dunlap is here. That helps provide a variety of services to our clients. And you all know Rico Robertson, the project manager here. And then we've got just kind of an outline of the slots of the personnel that we have. And so we've got a current project staff here that's here day in, day out of 15, but really wanted to highlight some of the other resources we have. We have an HR department. We have a compliance department that operates on their own. There's several personnel in there. A safety department. We have a recruiter that helps us get on the right websites to make sure that we're getting the right qualified personnel to come in and help us as we're doing operations here. And then we, at the bottom there, a compliance strike force. So we have, if you were to run into compliance problems, we've got several people who would travel to this project to be able to study that problem right away and make sure that we've got a good path forward to solve it. So I know that's a lot. And then just a kind of one last highlight here before I sit down. CWS, we like to give back to the communities we serve in. And over the past 6 years, we've awarded over $65,000 in scholarships. And just this year, we had two that were associated with this project. One there on the left, you see Kayla Anderson, who was a McCormick High graduate and received a $1,000 scholarship from us, and as well as Alex Wilson on the right there. She is the daughter of Stacy Wilson here, and she received a $1,000 scholarship, both to help with their future education endeavors. And we seek to do that. We want to be a part of this community and give back in every way we can. So with that, I will field any questions from you all.
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Chair, you know me, I do have a couple questions briefly, particularly the 4,784 completed orders. Out of those, how many are we subbing out to outside contractors?
Yeah, I think a lot of that, and I couldn't give you a number right off the bat. I'm sure, we could get those numbers for you, but a lot of that depends upon workflow. So if we've got a major leak or some type of preventative maintenance activity that requires a lot of people on hand, it wouldn't be uncommon for us to say, hey, we've got some taps here that we're going to let this contractor do so that we can focus on the important things of making sure we're staying in compliance. And the long-term goal would be to bring more of those in-house, but it's really, there's some triage that we have to play week in and week out of saying, well, what's the most important thing? What do we need to get done here? So we can get you those numbers, but I don't have them offhand right now.
And speaking of numbers, I know it's been quite some times. I know periodically we were getting, I don't know if it was monthly or bi-monthly, not twice a month, but every couple months, updates of all the activities that are taking place. Because this report is an awesome presentation. It looks very, very professional. It's very good, but I personally like numbers. When you talked about our certification, the number one reason that we moved toward contracting was because of just lack of certified employees.
Yeah.
So I would love to know the number since you've been here that have gotten certified.
Right.
Those type numbers are important to us because we all know that we will be renegotiating the contract in the very near future.
Yes.
And so I need numbers to back up all that you said that you're doing for us.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
Well, right away, we would keep you in compliance because we have the license distribution operators in the state. So Rico Robertson, I have a Class A distribution license. And to obtain a license, it takes time. So from the time we come in the door to someone has to apply to get a trainee license, which through the Labor Licensing and Regulation Department. So our distribution personnel, if we bring someone on board, we apply for that license. So I don't know if it's 80% or 90%, but everyone has a trainee license.
But they're not certified.
You have to have it for a year before you can even sit for an exam, and then you're eligible for a Class D. So, and then you move up to a Class C, B, A. So it can take, depending on education, different things. That's why we have internal training
I understand
programs.
that, but the point is we need to get our personal folks certified.
Sure.
So
And
we don't stay
path.
stuck in this same situation we find.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing is that I would like to know that wasn't mentioned with doing all the work orders is the response time to get to those work orders. Because my phone rings, I know my colleagues, their phone rings when we have issues that are not getting addressed properly. Do you have a time, say, I got a water leak, how long does it take for y'all typically to respond to that and repair it?
Yeah, it's probably going to depend on the nature of the leak. So most water leaks, they're going to respond to right away. There may be some work orders where they got pulled off on a larger leak and they have to go back and address a smaller leak. And so again, it's using that triage. We have to triage what's most important right now. But water leaks are high priority. And nothing, we mentioned that 219 work order backlog. We have worked hard to not have a backlog of work orders. So it depends, but I think we have a pretty reasonable response time. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
No further comment.
Okay, thank you.
One thing, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
This report that you guys include for us every month in our packets, I think one thing that might be helpful to Councilman Hamby when looking at this report, if you guys could maybe say what the sampling of what kind of orders it was that were completed during that month. You know what I'm saying? just a sample listing of like water leaks,
Yeah.
pipe replacement, whatever the
A
deal is.
breakdown of the work orders.
Yeah,
Great.
and I think that's probably something that wouldn't take too much more to add to that report. Would that be helpful?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for your time tonight.
I'd like to
Appreciate
thank
you.
y'all
Yes.
for your service. I do get some positive phone calls as well.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Warner, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. You've got my regular update in your package, so I'm not going to spend time going through that. I want to talk to you tonight about something I get a lot of questions about. Speaking of questions, Mr. Hamby, I think you probably do too, and that's our spec building. And I want to give you a sample of some of the questions I've gotten over the almost, has it been 3 years that I've been here? Wow.
Having fun, huh?
Usually, they want to talk to me about our storage space, okay? Here's another. Can we buy the storage building and put a Christian skateboard park in it? How much is your warehouse? We're looking for a building for a pickleball arena. We need space to relocate our real estate sales and construction business. We need a space for our pool business. A couple of recent ones that have really been in the last 10 days. Is there a flyer I can get on the building? And my research tells me this is coming from a ice skating rink group out of the neighboring county across the river. And then, can the building be used to offload dog food for the Humane Society? So those are some of the questions I get. So let's talk about spec buildings, speculative buildings to be precise. By definition, it is a property for which no buyer has been pre-identified. In the economic development world, it really, what we see, and this answers one of the last questions I got, which is why did the county build an incomplete building? We'll get to that history. But spec buildings by design are not complete. They're much further along than a greenfield site or a graded pad. And that means that somebody has already taken care of the expense and the time to do engineering, design, and permitting, impacting cost and time. As we all know how time-consuming getting permits are these days. Also, foundation work, footings, walls, roof are typically complete, again addressing cost. The remainder of the building is typically left, the programming for the remainder of the building is typically left to a prospective buyer. Floors. Floor thickness can vary from 4 inches to more than 10 inches depending on the user. We don't know what that will be. Fire suppression systems vary also depending on the use, which can be very expensive. HVAC and electrical service also vary depending on the use. Those are things that are typically not completed. Give you some numbers. According to the Greenville Business Magazine from a July 5, 2018 article, there in the state of South Carolina at that time in 2018, there were 28 existing spec buildings. 18 were under construction and 14 in the planning stages. I talked to the Department of Commerce last week and got a report as of June 15. The existing number of spec buildings has grown from 28 to 74. The number under construction has grown from 18 to 52. And those in the planning stages has grown from 14 to 38. Interestingly, of the existing and under construction buildings, if you look at where they're located, 96% are in counties that have interstates running through them. So if you look at where, and that tells me that a large majority of those are privately funded. So that's private dollars taking that risk. Let's talk about risk a little more. Companies looking to expand their business want to mitigate risk. Risk takes on many forms. One is the speed to the start of production. Well, a spec building, by nature of it, gets you further toward the start of production. You've just got to upfit the building, move equipment in, and hire people, and you're ready to go. The other risk is the cash spent prior to start of production or producing a sellable part. I know in the automotive industry, it could be 2 or 3 years of a lifespan of a project and investment before we made a sellable part. So that's a huge issue. And again, by having some of the site work done, the engineering, the design, that's all costs that somebody else has already borne the cost of. In active urban developed areas, spec building is something of a gamble. In rural communities, it's in the less developed areas, they're very risky endeavors for private investment. It's hard to get somebody to look at investing private dollars into putting a speculative manufacturing building in a rural county. And still, we still see it, prospective tenants and buyers still want to see an existing building. That's what a spec building gets you in. Site consultants, also, they see the value in a spec building because of the amount of effort that communities take, particularly in rural communities, to put those in place. So, economic development-minded local governments in rural communities understand that public funds may have to take the speculative risk. There are public stakeholders we partner with to do this. The Department of Commerce has been great in grant money to do these kind of investments. The electric cooperatives and other utility providers, same thing. And they partner with us to provide the patient funding that we need to take the speculation risk in the rural communities. And there's an and caveat with this. Those stakeholders, they expect this investment to create manufacturing or warehouse jobs, and because of the utility providers, they expect the buildings to sell electricity. So let's go on. Let's talk about our building a little bit. We partnered with the Department of Commerce and the South Carolina Power Team to purchase the property and construct a spec building for a company called Palace Foods, which was a project that did not come to fruition. Once it was apparent that that was not going to happen, the building was marketed as a manufacturing spec building. It's listed on the Department of Commerce, Power Team, Western South Carolina EDP websites, as well as Discover McCormick. So, you know, it's being marketed that way. I've had discussions with the retired executive coordinator for the Coordinating Council for Economic Development and his replacement. The expectation is still there, along with the power team, that the building be used for manufacturing or warehouse jobs and to sell electricity. If we do not use this, if we put a pickleball arena in it, Commerce and the power team are going to want their grant money back. And it will also jeopardize our ability to get future grant money. So I've got, that's my little discussion on spec buildings. I hope that helps answer some questions. I've got copies of my remarks that I will provide to council. John, I've got one for you. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Cook?
Mr. Warner, I think you've already pointed out, particularly in response to some of the questions that you get, why we built the spec building the way we did, because it really didn't match the classic definition of spec building, because we built it for a specific company who later, for a number of reasons that we need not go into, backed out of the deal. So if you want to look at why the building was built that way, because it was built for a specific company that wanted it constructed that way.
Yeah, that's correct.
And so there are, with respect to the economic development conferences that I've recently attended, my recollection of the latest statistics is that there are 29 million square feet of spec buildings that have already been constructed in the state of South Carolina that are still vacant. And there are another 49 million square feet that are in the planning stages. Yep. So we're going to have competition for that, and it's unfortunate that things worked out the way they are, but
Yep. Interesting, just to kind of address one of those points. The report I got last week from Commerce, I sorted it by counties. The closest ones to us are in Allendale County and Anderson County. And I can also I haven't run a total, but I can give you a total of the number of square feet in each category. I'll be glad to run that for you. But yeah, you're right. And I think a lot of what drives that, if you look at Charleston, that region, Columbia, Florence, Greenville and Spartanburg and Anderson, that's a lot of private dollars that are betting on
Somebody coming.
right.
And those are pretty good bets. Even though I heard a report earlier this week that says the absorption rate is softening, that'll be just a cycle. It'll come back.
The only other question that I would raise is, obviously, we're in a very competitive market environment. Have we considered either contracting with on spec or other on any other basis a professional marketing firm to go out and market that property?
We have talked about it, and I've given it some thought. We'll see what happens with Project Phaser. What I've seen from other counties that have used real estate marketing firms is you pay them a fee, and they put it on their websites, and they put it on LoopNet, and that's about all you get. But we're willing to consider most anything.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Just to
Go ahead.
summarize, this building can only be used for manufacturing jobs or warehousing.
Correct.
Otherwise, the funds that we received as a grant, Commerce will want them back.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's not just for McCormick County. I mean,
That's for everybody, anybody that gets a spec
I've
building from
had the
Commerce.
same conversation in Abbeville County. And, Abbeville sold a spec building. I said, what can we use that money for? I said, you can use it to build another spec building. You build a bowling alley with it, I want the money back,
Right.
So,
Like you said, you stated, I believe, that if we didn't follow the order of Commerce, then Commerce will not help us in the future getting grant money. And no county can survive getting spec bid and even getting business to their county, especially the small counties, without Commerce Department, utility people. You need all of them at the table.
they've been very good to McCormick County.
They have.
So
They want the
we need
extra
to
mile.
stay on their good side.
That's right. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Public comments.
Robert Morris.
Hello. Robert Morris, Fire Chief of Sandy Branch Fire Department. I have a couple items I'd like to bring up, and they're somewhat in the form of questions, rhetorical, I understand. But isn't the job of county council and the county administrator to do what's best for the citizens of the entire county? Each member of county council is supposed to be looking out for and doing their best for the constituents of their districts first and the county as a whole second. Why do some of these individuals not seem to be able to understand these jobs? Why did Administrator Stevens, whose job is to oversee the daily operations of the county government, not micromanaging those he has hired, order his new EMS director to submit a capital project sales tax committee proposal to build a multi-million-dollar fire building for Modoc Fire Department, the smallest fire department in our district? Where is the benefit to our tax-paying citizens in this? Will the new building equal better response times, better trained firefighters, or a larger number of personnel responding to calls? No. Why are Mr. Cook, Mr. Jennings, and Mr. Stevens working so hard to send millions of hard-earned taxpayer dollars to this tiny department that is not even in Mr. Cook's or Mr. Jennings' districts? Why are the same individuals trying their best to promote a special tax district for the same department, even though the homeowners who will be paying the bulk of the taxes do not even have a vote or a say in the matter? What about the other fire departments? What about the people and the property that these other fire departments protect? Are they any less important? Mr. Cook loves to use the terms equity and fairness. Where is the equity in pumping millions of dollars into one fire department and ignoring the others? Where is the fairness in asking the taxpayers to pay additional sales tax and then giving 1/3 of it to a single fire department that serves only a few hundred people? Mr. Cook could do something for his constituents by aiding the Little River Fire Department, which is an automatic aid department for SLV when it is needed, but nothing is done for them. Mr. Stevens, in my opinion, should leave his department heads to do their jobs, the ones he hired them to do, and not order them to do things that are outside the scope of their duties. Mr. Jennings, as chairman, should not go along with things that he knows deep down are not right. County government should not be about picking winners and losers, especially where the safety and security of the citizens of the county are concerned. Most all fire departments need assistance, a plan for which has been put forth by 5 fire chiefs, yet has been fought tooth and nail by Mr. Cook, as it is a fee instead of a tax. Our county government should be focusing on what supplies the greatest benefit to the largest number of people at the most reasonable cost. The aforementioned items do none of those things. What are the real reasons why they are so adamant to do otherwise? Please do the jobs that you were elected or hired to do to benefit the entire county and not just a select few. Thank you.
No one else.
No one else? Okay. Get a motion to go into public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Been motion and second, any discussion? No discussion, all in favor, nobody right hand? Thank you. Public hearing on ordinance 24-01. This is an ordinance to provide the appropriation for the fiscal year beginning July 1 of 2024 and ending June 30 of 2025 for McCormick County budget for the county.
No one signed up.
Item number 2, this is ordinance 24-02, an ordinance to raise revenue to set rates for McCormick Water and Sewer Department beginning July 1, 2024 and ending June 30, 2025.
No one signed up.
Be item number 3, ordinance 24-03, an ordinance to raise revenue, to make appropriation and adopt a budget for the Savannah Lake Special Tax District, beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June the 30th, 2025.
No one signed up.
4, ordinance 24-04, an ordinance to provide for the level of taxes for the ordinary school district beginning July 1, 2024, ending June 30, 2025.
No one signed up.
Okay, now we down to decision items. Item number 1.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry. Getting ahead of ourselves. Can I
Motion.
get a motion?
Motion to come out of public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
The motion and second that we'll come out of public hearing. All in favor, nobody right hand. Thank you. Decision items. This is number 1, order 24-01. This is appropriation for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2024, and ending June the 30th, 2025, for the McCormick County budget for the county ordinary purpose and for the other county purpose for which the county may levy a tax and receive. Give me a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, just a comment on these decision items, and since we're working on the budget and we have our technologies working well, I think in the future it'd be very beneficial to have those budget amounts posted where the public could see what we're approving.
The amount.
Yeah, just the amount.
Yeah, okay. In the future, we could do it.
Yeah, future, yeah, that's just a comment. No further comment.
Okay. All right, she done put it up there.
She got it?
I can
You
pull it.
can't read that?
She's gonna pull it up in a minute.
But anybody want a copy, they can get a copy.
They're on the website.
They on the website.
I understand that, but when the public's here, it'd be nice just to have the total amount of what our budget, I see people shaking their heads, yes,
Okay.
to see what we're approving to spend this coming year is all I'm asking.
Yes, sir. All in favor? Nobody right?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I do have a few comments.
Okay.
We're going to pass this budget tonight, but I have traditionally raised some questions with respect to the budget in the past, and I'm going to raise some of those same questions tonight. For whatever, the first point I'd like to make is that for whatever reason, we are underestimating the revenues that we are receiving from various sources, whether they are local, state, or otherwise. So when we put the budget together, in order to arrive at a balanced budget, we are projecting transfers from our reserve fund. Last year, we projected, or at least the current year that we are in, we projected a transfer of $2.9 million. The budget that is before us tonight projects a deficit of over $3 million. Now, when it comes up to the end of the fiscal year, and the issue is, well, how much of that transfer from the reserve fund did you actually have to spend? The answer is generally none. And why was that? For two reasons. One, because we underestimated the revenues that we were going to receive. And in addition to that, we budget for 100% of the salaries for every position in the county. Now, for those of you who have been engaged in budgeting processes over the years will understand a significant proportion of that money that is budgeted for salaries is not spent because those positions are often vacant during the fiscal year. So we are underestimating our expenditures or we are overestimating our expenditures and underestimating our revenues. And I think that's a real problem that we need to fix, because for all intents and purposes, when we do that, we are creating, in this case, in terms of the projected budget, a $3 million contingency fund that we're probably not going to need, but that eliminates the need for county administration to come back to council and ask for an increase in funds because they've already put it in the budget. I also think we need better ways to keep track of the expenditures that we are making during the year so that we have a better idea of what gets spent when we consider the budget for the following year. Those final figures are not made available to us on a complete basis until the audit reports come out in January. So we're always passing the budget for the next fiscal year before we have a good report with respect to what the expenditures were for the last fiscal year. I think one of the issues that I raised last year, and I'm going to raise again this year, is we are subsidizing solid waste disposal from our general fund. And unfortunately, the costs of solid waste disposal and recycling keep going up, but the annual fee that we charge, the $80 a year fee, is not keeping pace. So every year we have to subsidize more and more of our solid waste disposal and recycling out of the general fund. Now, I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but if we're going to do that, then I would like to think that we're getting adequate services for our money. And for those of you who are using the recycling facilities know quite frequently that when you show up there, particularly to recycle plastic, the bins are full. So if we're going to be spending more money for solid waste disposal and recycling, I think we need to have more frequent emptying of our recycle bins. During the last year, County Council has allocated substantial funds to finish the construction of the MIMS Civic Center. And we needed to do that because we allocated $1 million in the last capital project sales tax fund. And in order to complete that cycle and spend that money, because the cost of that facility had grown from $2.1 million to about $5 million, we needed to come up with revenues to do that. And to finish that project, we've gone along with that, and we've allocated money, and that project is going to be completed in the fall. But I have said for a considerable period of time that if we are going to complete that facility, then we also need to allocate funds for its operation. And when you look at what is in the budget with respect to the Recreation Department, which is going to have to manage that facility, there are virtually no increases. So if you look at managing an entirely new facility, a $5 million facility, we wanted to preserve the basketball court so that we could get people in, preferably at night and on weekends, in order to use that facility. But we haven't allocated any more money for operations. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, and I think that the county needs to address that issue somewhere down the line if we're going to make full use of that facility. The last point I want to bring up is when you look at the budget, there is an allocation in there for SLV road maintenance. That figure last year was $545,000. This year, it's $745,000. Now, that is really not a true estimation of the funds that have been allocated. That $545,000 last year only included $200,000 of new money. All the rest of it was carryover money that had not been spent but had been approved in the budget from previous years. This year, there's $745,000, but that includes $525,000 in carryover money. The reason that money is carried over rather than spent in the fiscal year in which it has been appropriated is because if you go out on the street and try to get a repaving contract done for $200,000, you're either going to get no bids or you're going to get a bid that's twice as high as the amount that you originally estimated. So what happens is we get an allocation from the county for repaving SLV roads, but we have to wait for 2, 3, maybe even 4 years in order to get a sufficient amount of money in order to get a decent contract for that. So when you look at the budget, that $745,000 is not new money. The only new money that's in there is $200,000, which we've been getting for the last 2 years from the county. So don't be misled if you go through the budget and see a $745,000 allocation to SLV, because only $200,000 of that is real money. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Listen to my colleagues speak about our financial situations. I depend very heavily. We've had a professional auditor for many, many years, and I've been here long enough to see some very difficult financial times where we were having to borrow money every year just to pay our bills and pay our salary. As well as I remember, the last report that we just received was by far the best we've ever done financially. So I know we do use our fund balance of monies that doesn't get used. You mentioned the jobs and those type things does roll over into the fund balance to be reallocated. So I don't think we're in bad a shape as you seem to have portrayed. Mentioning the SLV monies, I like to think that is the county's road tax money. It's all our monies. The $750,000 is, we all had to pay that. It comes out of the general fund. We just decided to put extra money away. So as you mentioned, that we can do the bigger projects. And then, of course, there's CTC monies that goes into that too. And we are playing catch up on those roads that have been neglected for quite some times. But we need to realize that we all pay taxes and that this is everyone's money. It's not any special group, special interest group or whatever. We all have to pay our property taxes annually.
Thank you.
No further comment.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just a quick response. If you look at how much $200,000 is in terms of road repaving, that'll repave about a quarter-mile of road. So if you look at how much is actually going to SLV, which is paying probably 35–40% of the property taxes in the county, that's not a big amount. But the other thing that I would mention is I never said the county was in bad shape financially. It isn't. I think we can do a better job of planning. But I would ask you to consider. In terms of the current year's budget that we are in, what would have happened if we had not underestimated the revenues that we were going to get? And most of those revenues did not come from local taxes. They came from the state or other sources, which amounted to a considerable amount that would have eaten up a substantial portion of that amount that we had budgeted from reserve account. Luckily, that didn't happen. And it didn't happen the year before when we overestimated or underestimated our revenues and or overestimated the revenues and underestimated our expenses. So I'm not saying that we're in bad shape. I'm just saying that we need to improve the planning and allocation of resources in the county to make sure that we don't run into a problem in which we are allocating $3 million, for example, to cover the and to balance the budget. If we happen to need that, and we're taking it out of the reserve account, that might put us right back into the position of having to go get banknotes in order to cover our operating expenses until the tax revenues come in. So I think we need to do a better job of estimating revenues and expenditures in order to make sure that we don't get back into that situation.
Well, I just,
Mr.
thank
Chairman,
you.
if I may.
Brown, go ahead.
When we talk about revenues from the state, from the national government, other entities, they have a budget, true, but every year that fluctuates. We don't know from one year to the next exactly the amounts we're going to get from the state in several categories. Now, there's some that we do know because it's based on population and that sort of thing. I think the way we do the budget is a way to help all of the county residents and everyone to look at and to see that because we have money that's in the fund balance, if we have expenditures for that year that go over what we need based on catastrophic events that may happen in the county, across the nation, COVID is a perfect example of something that happened. Nobody could budget for that. I don't have a problem with how we're doing the budget right now. Every place I've ever worked, there's always been a transfer in and a transfer out of monies looking in the budgets. So to Mr. Cook's point, if we could look at the revenue a little closer, that may be something we can do. But as far as expenditures are concerned, you budget for employees. You never know if you're going to be able to find those employees or not. Sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. But the funds need to be available in the event that we can find those employees. And that is the biggest part of anybody's budget is employees and benefits. So that's just my 2 cents worth. But I understand what Mr. Cook is saying.
That's it, Mr. Cook, that's enough. Okay. Cause we get a true budget. We got professional people audit the budget. And McCormick County not doing no different, everyone in here. If you had your said so, you'll be budgeting a different way. But we following this state. And that's in this. And our audit come and check our budget, and they give us a complete audit. If something wrong, they will tell the administrator as well as the county council what is wrong. Do they do things like I like to see them do it all the time? No. But we still can always look to try to improve on something, but we all got to stay within the guideline. We got to follow the way the state of South Carolina want us to do it. Because if we mess up, all the taxpayers have to pay that penalty, and we don't want that. So we want to continue to stay within the law and provide a clean audit when we get our report. And now, for the last few years, we have been making progress. I didn't like sharecropping when my granddad was doing it, as well as my dad for a few years. Always had to borrow money before you receive money. And so that's what this county was doing for many years. But now, for the last 3 years, I believe, we ain't had to do a appropriation bill. So that is good news. So and I know I can't put my eye on the budget and see everything like Councilman Cook does, but I do see enough to know that we ain't in no trouble, and we are making progress. Thank you. Now I call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you. Number 2, order 24-02, an order to raise revenue set rate and appropriation and a budget for the county and McCormick Water and Sewer Department beginning July 1, 2024, and in June 30 of 2025. Council consider the study reading.
So moved.
The
Second.
motion and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Cook.
earlier this month, I recommended that in view of the difficulties that the U.S. Postal Service is having, that particularly with their mail handling facility in Atlanta, that has significantly increased the time it takes to mail and deliver a lot of critical things, particularly with respect to checks and bills and medicines that are coming for veterans through the mail and a lot of other things. That we increase the amount of time that residents have to pay their water and sewer bills by an additional 5 days. Now, we've already increased it 5 days once, but that was before some of the more recent difficulties with the U.S. Postal Service deliveries. I was called to a meeting. I sat down with Mr. Stevens and the water and sewer people, and we talked about that. And what I discovered was that because we have 6,000 manual meters that must be read by 4 people, that it takes a couple of weeks to get all of that together. So that if we were to extend the period of time that it takes to file those bills, instead of paying our bills 1 month in arrears, we would be paying it 2 months in arrears. So that turned out not to be a feasible option. I had proposed extending that for 5 days with a sunset period after 1 year to see what was going to happen, if whether or not we were going to get improved USPS delivery times. So I was a little shocked then after, and let me add one thing. I think the Water and Sewer Department is going to do some things that will help that along. You'll be able to go online, for example, or you'll be able to call them if your bill is arriving late and you don't think you're going to have time to pay it. You can go online right after the first of the month and ask them what the amount to be paid is. So you can find that out immediately rather than waiting 5, 10, 12 days for the receipt of the actual bill, which will assist you to do that. In the future, as they improve those systems, as I understand it, you'll actually be able to go online and print off the website a copy of your bill right after the first of the month. But those are some improvements that are down the road. But what I was shocked about was when I went into and looked at the water and sewer budget to find that, and let me get to it. When you look at the expenditures projected for this year, meter reader salaries for last year were $72,000. This year, they're only projecting to spend $35,000, which is about half that. So if it's taking us right now nearly 2 weeks to get those meters read, and we're going to spend only half as much to get those meters read next year, I'm wondering whether or not the time required to do that is going to increase.
Go ahead. You saying something, Steve?
I know you sit down with the finance director. I don't know where I'm not looking at your numbers, but the budget itself, Dave, did you just hear what he just said? Okay. He wants to know why it's half of the amount that we had last year. But all of the positions, my understanding, are already budgeted for
within the $4 million that we have. He was saying it was 70, meter readers was 72. He's looking at the 24, 25, 35,301.
correct.
Where are you capturing the other part of the salaries? Because I know you sit down with Mr. Cook for an hour and 40 minutes the other day. I'm looking at it right now, 24, 25, you got 35,301 as opposed to 72,609. Yeah. That's what I want you to tell him again publicly.
And then what happens is when you have a decrease in expense, you're going to reallocate it to other areas.
Right.
And in this case, most of it's going to be in water. Water and operations, that's just pretty normal. But everything else is pretty much flat. Actually, when I see that number, that 35,301 might never happen either. But based on the time we did the budget, we didn't have any other information. So that might become zero. And so that money will not be spent, and it will flow down.
Mr. Chair, one other thing though. Dave also though, by Stacy going over to, on the other side of the payroll, he needs to let the people understand her salary is no longer included in the meter readers. So you're talking for almost $40-some thousand have been transferred over to another category, which Clearwater bills us for. It is there, but it's just not there under meter readers. And that's why it's not included in the 72,000 because Stacy got a promotion. She is the assistant project manager right now. So she's no longer a meter reader. And you got a part, and I'm just telling you, it's been shifted to another category. So it's covered, but it's just not covered on the meter readers.
I understand that. I just wanted to make sure before I voted on this that
Right.
we weren't cutting the number of meter readers in
Right,
half.
and we're not. And that's the point I wanted David to make, because you and David had the conversation, and I just wanted David to confirm the conversation that the two of you all had was in line with what I'm saying right now, so the general public will understand that we are not reducing the money per se for the meter readers. We
Okay.
just need to be on the same page, that's all.
Having understood that now, then my point is, when the county council and when the public looks at the expenditures for water and sewer, it would be very helpful, particularly when there is a divided budget, one for the contractor and one for the water department per se on the county side, that we could have those at least a couple of columns to reflect how much we are spending for those individual functions, one under the contract and one by the county allocation under this budget. I think that would be very helpful.
We'll talk about it, Dave. In the future, all we got to do is the amount that we spending on the contract with whomever it is, we'll show them it's really amounts to $2 million, really, because the other information that's coming up, we can break it out any way you want to.
Yeah, I'm just asking that
We will.
the council and the public have the opportunity to review the total amount that's going to be spent on each object class or each function.
That's right.
Thank you.
Points well taken.
Okay, anyone else? Not, all in favor? Thank you. Item number 3, order 24-03, in order to raise revenue, make appropriation and adopt a budget for the Savannah Lake Special Tax District for beginning July 1 of 2024 and ending June the 3rd of 25. This is the third reading, so can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
The motion and second, any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Cook.
when we discussed this at the last meeting, I asked for a breakout that would include both the tax commission's expenditures for the previous year and the tax commission's expenditures for this year. The ordinance that is in front of me does not include a comparison between last year and this year. The other thing that I have a question about before we before we vote on this is there is a new allocation in the budget this year under the commission expenditures, an allocation of $40,000 for part-time paid firemen. Now, that is a new allocation to that budget that was not in last year's budget. And what I would like to know is whether or not, if we're going to be hiring part-time paid firemen at the Sandy Branch Fire Department under the Tax Commission, where those individuals or individual is going to be located. Are they going to be located at Sandy Branch, or are they going to be located at the fire department at EMS centrally, where they can be used on a county-wide basis?
We can't use them in the county. It has to be SLV.
We just have to check with the fire chief and see, because they submit the budget to you, Dave, we know that they need to be utilized in that particular area in which receiving the funding. So it's up to the chief as to how they're going to dispatch those individuals.
Well, are we changing county policy? Instead of putting all of our paid firefighters in one location where they can be used on a county-wide basis and locating them centrally, we're going to start putting them out in the individual fire departments?
The policy haven't changed that I know of.
We hadn't changed that.
That's what we just need to find out.
Well, we've never located them out there before.
It just, that, they put that in there, so they're gonna be hiring. So we had to check with them and find out if they're gonna have that fire chief to be, fireman to be working anywhere besides out at SLB.
Well, let me ask you this then. If SLV then has the authority to hire a part-time paid fireman at a remote location, will other fire departments have the same authority?
Crystal, go ahead. Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Let Crystal add something.
Chairman Jim.
Yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Ms.
yeah,
Barnes.
I pulled up last year's,
Yeah.
and it's got that $40,000 under the compensation. Is that the one you're speaking of? Mr.
No,
Cook?
because it still has the $40,000 under the compensation. This is down under the tax commission expenditures.
Under tax commission?
Yeah. And that was not there last year.
Mr. Chair, my comment would be, that's a special tax district. We basically don't, all we do is approve their budget that is sent to us, so we don't have authority of what they do and don't do in that special tax district. Now, our director has left. We do have paid part-time firemen for Engine 122. This is for the county, it's in the county's budget. So all these questions you're asking about the special tax district is in your area.
Right.
And you should know what's going on with the village, because this is not, you're trying to tie it to the county, and it's not tied to the county.
I understand. I'm just seeking clarification with respect to county policy. So, if the Modoc Fire Tax District is approved, then the Modoc Fire Department then can hire part-time paid firemen, and the county wouldn't have any problem with that.
If they gonna pay,
You all make the
if they
policy.
gonna raise the revenue,
I'm just asking the question.
Mr. Chair.
I think it's very inappropriate to bring up that subject.
Because that's not, we on the budget.
SLV, you're doing something that you shouldn't do publicly, bringing MODOC in my district in on an issue that's going to be very controversial. You need to wait till the vote is taking place in November, and then we'll work out the logistics with the special tax commissioners.
okay.
Mr. Hamby, I think this is a countywide issue that needs to be considered, and whether it's in my district or any other district, if this is a change
But we
in
can't
policy.
answer it tonight.
Not tonight. Okay, I call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
Yes. All in favor? Nobody right now.
There you go.
Thank you. Item number 4, this is ordinance 24-04, in order to provide for the level of taxes for the school district number 1, beginning July 1, 2024, and end in June 30, 2025. A motion for third reading.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Cook.
I just want to point out that the allocations from the state to the school district have not been completely finalized because the state budget has not been passed. The state legislature is back in session this week, but whether or not they'll pass anything this week or whether it'll be carried over is not known. So the absolute final figures in the budget may change a little bit now, depending upon what the state legislature does.
Yes. Okay, anyone else? All in favor? Nobody writing? Thank you. Item number 5, council to consider authorizing the county administrator to sign a memorandum of agreement with the Department of Juvenile Justice for the year 24/25. This calls about 50, the house of juveniles is about $50 per day.
Per diem, per day, yes.
So moved.
Second.
More than a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Nobody, right? Thank you. Item number 5, council to consider authorizing the county administrator to sign a memorandum. I'm sorry, item number 6. Council to consider authorizing the county administrator signing a memorandum of understanding for Clemson Extension, a budget of $14,400.
So moved.
Second.
The more than second. Any discussion? All in favor? Nobody right here. Thank you. Item number 7. Council to consider authorizing the county administrator to sign the intergovernment agreement with Upper Savannah Council of Government for the region planning grant application. Get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Cook.
I just have a quick question.
Yes.
As I look on the agreement, there's just a signature place for the county administrator. Since the Council of Government also has the authority for administering community development block grants for the municipalities, my question is whether or not this approval constitutes the authority of the Council of Governments to administer those programs for both the county and the municipalities, or whether there's a separate agreement then between the municipalities and the COG.
My understanding is separate. This agreement that we're looking at now have not been signed since 1990. So as a result of that, they updating their records. The Community Development Block Grant, Greenwood would be the catalyst. Since they are in Greenwood County, they would coordinate with Upper Savannah. But this is separate than municipality, because most of the time countywide, we are not eligible for the most part for Community Development Block Grant because it has to be low to moderate income. This is just strictly the county. Greenwood, Abbeville, Lawrence, Edgefield, McCormick, Saluda, all of us are required to sign this document. They just update the record. That's all they do.
I just wanted to make sure that the municipalities were not included and we
not.
were not agreeing.
We're
for them.
not agreeing anything as it relates to municipality.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All in favor? Nobody right hand. Thank you. Item number 8. Council to consider authorizing the administrator to issue a general construction survey in order to proceed to replace the roof in the amount of $16,500 at the former EMS facility. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? All in favor? Nobody right hand. Yeah. Item number 9. Council to consider authorizing the administrator to renew the easement of DACW 21-2-23-0033 with the United States Army Corps of Engineers expiring August 2048 in the amount of $2,284. This is located, I believe, at Monticello
So moved.
for that easement.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Cook.
I'd just like to point out that this is the rest facility between holes number 4 and 5 on the Monticello Golf Course. A rest stop that I use frequently when I am playing. So I endorse wholeheartedly the renewal of the right-of-way to continue sewer services to that restroom facility.
Good, thank you.
You should pay for it.
No one else? Not, all in favor, nobody right hand. Thank you. Item number 10, council to consider accepting the resignation of Cheryl Daniel from the Planning Commission. Get a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor? Nobody right hand. Thank you. A proclamation for Charlotte Taylor. Where you going, Miss Charlotte? You leaving? I said, come on down.
She is. Alabama.
She'll miss us.
The Auburn Tigers.
This was holding out for minutes. You was the first. 'Cause I've been looking for when I go. And somebody said, Charles Jennings. You beat me out. My day is coming. You waited, well, I be honest, that my hand can cause a seal on McCormick County to be a fist this 28th day of June, McCormick County. Charles Jennings, thank you for all your work in this county. You put us on the map. People used to turn their head in that building that you in.
Thank you, Charlotte. We're gonna miss you too.
Speech.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlotte.
The month of June, that's when we will celebrate this past Sunday, Father's Day. And this is what the proclamation all about, honoring the fathers. You know, sometimes we feel like we're left out, fathers, but thank good, we're not left out. Mothers don't, well, we don't leave mothers out. That's right. Get a vote for the father.
So moved.
Second.
It'd be Moses second.
Mr. Chair, I would just comment on this, being a foster parent and really reaching out to those that are fatherless. It's such an important, challenging job and need lots and lots more people willing to reach out to. There's a lot of broken, hurting, needed children out there that needs a father figure in their lives.
That's right. Thank you. But we're gonna always remember mothers. Mothers. We ain't putting mothers down. We just fathers now. Okay, that fathers tonight. That's right. Okay, all in favor? Nobody right here. Thank you. Okay, then we down to committee reports. Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. Chairman and council members, we attended the high school graduation, of course, on the 31st. The Valor Awards luncheon that the chamber took the lead on and sponsored. We had lunch with the school district volunteers as part of their recognition program. Attended to 2 grand openings in the county for the T&A Nail Salon on Main Street and the Palmetto Pine Outfitters, which is now in its 3rd generation of people. It started off with Jimmy and Jenny Smith, then their son Kirk and his wife Michelle, and now their son Alex is running that business out on 378.
Yes.
Attended the adult education graduation in Johnson. McCormick had 1 student who completed all the necessary requirements to receive their diploma in that program. The adult program in McCormick currently has about 12 students who attend on a regular basis, and of those 12, I think 4 of them are slated maybe to receive their GEDs next school semester. They're currently on break right now. Their school starts back up September the 9th. That's all I have to report at this time.
Well, thank you. Councilman Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Had a full rota of meetings this past month. The County Transportation Committee, the McCormick County School District, McCormick County Council Joint Budget Workshop, the Valor Awards Luncheon, a Council on Foreign Relations budget webinar on the avian flu outbreak and preventing the next pandemic. I'll have a little bit to say about that a little bit later. The Studio Essence Salon ribbon cutting, the McCormick High School graduation ceremony, Sheriff Stern's town hall meeting, which I think was very good and very helpful. The McCormick County Planning Commission meeting, in which there was considerable discussion of the foundation that is operating that facility out there as a rehab center, and they are asking to rezone the property on Upper Mill Road from forest agriculture to planned development. That's been tabled, but that's something that will probably eventually come to council for review. The McCormick County School District Board meeting, the CPW meeting, the capital project sales tax meeting. There were 12 new funding proposals made at that last meeting. Savannah Lakes Village PAC meeting and the McCormick County Election Board meeting today. Other meetings I've mentioned already. I've met with Mr. Stevens and the water and sewer people with respect to some billings issues, and with David Letters with respect to the county budget issues. The only thing I'd like to say about the avian flu outbreak is that the health officials that are involved in this process are concerned about this because, one, there's no adequate testing to be able to differentiate this right now between other flu viruses and the avian flu virus. And second, there's no vaccine that has been developed that would prevent that. So the advice right now is they're trying to put a program together to detect its spread, but they're having a hard time doing that. So they really don't know how serious this is as of yet. They do know that it has spread from avians to mammals, and that includes beef, pork, and a number of other things. They know that it has gone from the people who manage those beef herds, particularly dairy cattle, to humans. And the advice right now is do not drink any unpasteurized milk or dairy products. Because if those products don't go through the pasteurization products, it may not kill the virus. And second, cooking meat, even if it is infected, will kill the virus. But be very, very careful when you're handling raw meat products, because it can infect you unless you wash your hands very thoroughly afterwards. So right now, they really don't know how serious this avian flu outbreak is going to be. They are working on it, but the public should take appropriate precautions to prevent the spread until they can get some better testing worked out and develop a vaccine. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Banks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did attend the high school scholarship awards, which were great, even though we had to do it in the dark because the lights went out. But it was great. It was great. Also attended the board meeting on June 8th, and in the absence of Mrs. Morgan, Mr. Lodholt gave the May budget reports and the update on capital projects. As far as the budget, there's only about 12% to be expended, so they're running it out like they planned it, I guess, and that's good. And most of the capital projects are close to being finished or finished. They have finished some, and they're real close to finishing all of them. The board approved a 2.5% increase for non-certified employees for the 2024-25 school year. The board also approved a local, what they call a local course for the year 2024 and 25. The name of it is Introduction of Professional Development Leadership. It is an elective, and a half credit will be earned for those who finish it. 3 job descriptions were also approved. They were K-12 office manager, broadcasting instructor, communication liaison, director of MTSS, and accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair.
Mr. Chair, don't have much to add. I've attended many of the same things that my colleagues have. I did attend last Sunday. The Little River subdivision has an annual homeowner association picnic. Food is always great, and I give them an update about what's basically going on in the county. It's always well received. The other thing, just as a comment, I'm going to kill this name. I've asked Ms. Brown them to help me. Sakahatchee volunteers. I was invited to their final dinner at Parksville Baptist Church and was requested to provide ice cream, which went over really well. But I was so impressed with that ministry. They were working on 3 homes in McCormick town, I think. And to see the young people that have to pay $200 or more to come work on folks' homes. And then I think the school, I think they stay at the high school, and then other churches feed them the whole week. But I had never been a part of that, so was very impressed with just seeing young people volunteering and getting involved, because we don't see that as often as we need to see, because volunteers mean so much to this county. So that's basically all I had.
Again, thank you. Just like to follow up on that,
You say it like I do.
Yeah, but they've been doing a great job. They've been coming to McCormick for many years in different churches, take part in providing a meal, and then they worship with some of the churches, because they have pastors as well as youth with them. And like Vice Chair Hammond said, that they pay their own way, and that's good. And that let them know we still have some people believe and volunteer in that service and want to enhance the quality of life for others, because it's a house on South Main Street. They spent many days there. They had to redo that top before they could put the shingles on it. And it was hot, but they was out there. And in our church, Mount Lebanon Baptist Church down in Paulsville, always take care of them on Monday every year. And so it's a great thing they doing. Good. You got a chance to come out and fellowship with them. We was at chance to attend the elementary graduation, the middle school, and the high. So it was great. On the award night, Steffi, she just turned the lights out. I don't know why, but when she finished, the lights went. It was just dark. All you had, good cell phone with their lights for a few minutes there. So it was great, and we thank CWS. We thank you, always honor some deserving student with a scholarship. Thank you for your service. We had an chance to attend the Millen Foundation Parade, as well as their program in the park, and then their banquet that night. So it turned out real good, and they thanked all the county councilmen for the job they have done and the support that it have given them trying to keep the W.S. Millen Activity Center legacy alive. Keep working. If you get a chance, go down Millen Drive. You look at what your tax dollars are doing. The building looks good, and that building was built somewhere around 1954, 53, and that's the first house school of Africa American here in McCormick County. That's when we really had started public school. Before they had one public school, it was just community and church school here in the county for the Africa or America. And I don't know some people, but that was like heaven for me when I got there. And I got there a few days later than Councilman Banks, but it was still good, and I could still smell some of the newness in there. And we also got a chance to attend the Charlotte Man of the Year banquet. Sounded good. And this week, the 20th, it's a workshop taking place up at John Dead House for the senior disability. If you can work it in your schedule, if you'd like for someone to come out and support them, starting at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Mr. Stephen.
Just a couple of things, Mr. Chair. Next week, we plan to, as county council have requested, we getting ready to do the request for qualification for the water and sewer department in terms of soliciting proposals for a public-private partnership, similar to what we already have. And then the only other thing is, we'll be coming back to county council probably close to the first of the year with a fee structure to help facilitate and operate the WSMM facility. That one reason you don't see anything in the budget, we are allowing that prior to operating the facility, since county council make policies, we will come to you with a proposal that would not impact the budget for this year. Because if you look at the timetable, the facility will not be open to the public prior to January 2025.
So as a result of that, we do have provisions to be able to, when time to open it up to the general public, we got funding mechanisms that will come forth with. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank each and every one coming out to county council meeting this evening. Thank you. We look forward. We don't have a special call meeting. We'll see you the third week in July at this same time, 6 p.m. Thank you again. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. The motion and second. Any discussion? Not all in favor, nobody right hand.